Hello and thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to be replacing some tie rods on our 2002 Toyota Camry. Yeah, the old ones are worn out, so we're going to be trying to replace these today. So stick around and we'll show you how we do that. So what we have here is the old tie rod parts. We have the inner and the outer. Then we have the new inner, outer here. These new parts are Driveworks from Advanced Auto. They do have a limited warranty on them. Or maybe they have a warranty on it. It could be lifetime, but I'm sure there's stipulations. But here's a look at the inner here, pre-greased. Jam nut on here. I can't move that at all. Here's the outer. So the way it will look is they'll just be connected here. There will be a boot going over the inner, over this ball here. Back the jam nut off, back, and put the outer to the inner so it will, now it'll look something like that. With the boot over it. Let's take a look at the old parts. Here's the old inner, and that is why we're actually doing this job. The boot was cut over this, so gravel, water, dirt got in there. As you can see, there's no more grease in there. And then here's the outer. The outer old one is actually still pretty good. Still has grease. It's still sealed pretty well, and it's actually a pretty good part. But we have the castle nut here and a cotter pin going through this part, this old one. So anyway, I'm still going to not use this. I'm going to go ahead and use the new ones. And we'll go ahead and get started on the other side of the vehicle. So with the wheel off now, we're going to turn the hub to the right so that it'll be easier to access the tie rod. So here's a look at the outer and the inner tie rod. We will be removing the outer first. Inner has the boot on. We're going to try to save that boot. So first thing we'll be doing is taking a cotter pin out of the nut you see there, pushing the cotter pin out, and then loosening that nut. For the nut here, we have a 17mm socket. We're just going to loosen it for now. Now we have a wrench on the jam nut, and we're going to loosen that. So you will be pulling down on the wrench. Just loosen it just a little bit because we need to count the threads.
Loosened.
That's where the current alignment is set at, so we want to try to put it back just like that. So we're ready to remove the outer tie rod. So we still have the nut on here. I'm going to tap gently on the nut and try to get the tie rod to separate here, but I don't think that's going to happen so easily, but we'll see. Don't want to destroy the threads, so I'm going to be gentle. Okay, so that's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is try to hit this knuckle here hard enough to vibrate it so that it will separate. Okay, I think I just saw it move, so we're good. So now at this point we can go ahead and take off
this nut, and we should be able to lift that end right off. Okay, so now we need to count the turns so that we can put the new one, so we'll know when we put the new one back in, it's going to be lined up the same position as close as possible anyway. So you can mark it up here on the nut and count it from there, or you can count it from right here. So it's probably easier just to turn it here and start counting. So again, we have the jam nut just loosened enough to get it, the outer one screwed off. So let's go ahead and start counting the turns off. Yeah, that way. But hold on.
It's not.
It's still locked in place.
I guess.
All right, go ahead and start counting. The 1, right?
2,
3.
about 16.
Okay, 16. Okay, so with this inner one, to get it off, we're going to start by getting the boot off. There is a clamp right there. Put your pliers. Actually, I don't know if those needle nose will work, but just, push them together there and then slide that off. Okay. Set it down somewhere. All right, now we need to get the other end of the clamp off. Also, we're going to need to go ahead and take that nut, jam nut, all the way off so we can slide that boot off. We want to try to reuse that boot, so we don't want to damage it if possible. And it may be damaged, you really can't see at this point, but the end here looks pretty good, so go ahead and take the nut off. Alright, so for the clamp on the far side, I've got my screwdriver. There's a little loop, I don't think I can. There's a little loop that my screwdriver is in. It's a little silver part of the clamp. And I'm going to be turning my screwdriver to open that up. Okay, I think you've got it turned enough so that you can just twist that boot, put your hand deep in there, and just twist the boot, pull it. You still feel like it's too tight on there? You don't want to tear that boot if you can help it. You have better access now. You kind of see what you're going for there. You want to loosen up a little more? So it does take a small head screwdriver. If you can put a bigger screwdriver, that'd be okay. I don't think you can though. Camera in the way, let me know.
Oh, that's good.
Having a hard time getting a grip on the screwdriver. Okay, all right, now be very careful down here. You don't want to tear that boot. Let's go ahead and get some grease. Hold on a second. So right here, the boot settles into a notch. I'm probably going to need a screwdriver to lift up the rubber part to get it over that. But I'm going to take some grease and just work it. Before I do anything. Okay, the boot looks good still. So we should be able to reuse this. That's really loose. So we have to turn this inner tie rod here with a wrench. There's two flat spots, one on each side to put the wrench, and on the end of it there's a washer, and there's two like ears. I'm not exactly sure what you call them, but they've been tapped, flattened down over those flat spots so that you can't turn it. So we have to pry those back and kind of set it free so that we can put our wrench and loosen it off. So we're going to need a flat head screwdriver and a hammer. Yeah. Okay, so here's the first one. Just have to unfold that back. I think that's probably good. Alright, I think that's cleared. Now there's one on the other side. Alright, so I've got that one as well. Alright, so we're going to have to put a wrench on here and turn this off. And that is not easy to do. There is a tool that we may have to get that slides over the whole inner tie rod and kind of clamps on here. And then then from the other end you can put your socket wrench in the end and turn it off. That may be the route we have to go. There's some other types of tools, but that's the whole idea. You kind of slide them on, clamp it on, and then from the end you put your wrench on. We don't have that tool. You can rent those, and I may do that, but what I'm going to try to do is just put a pipe wrench on this thing and see if I can get some leverage on it and try to take it off with that before I go to the parts store and get that rental tool. Alright, so I was able to break it loose. It's like one position in the whole world to get to be able to do that. So now I can just unscrew the whole thing. You don't have to be underneath the car to do it, but you should be able to see that washer on the end of this. It locks in. I can feel it right here. Okay, there's the washer. Wore out inner tie rod. Now we're ready to put the new tie rod in. We're ready to screw that in. Here's a look at the wrench that I used to get the old one off. Pretty small pipe wrench, and it was the only tool that I had to be able to do that. Good luck with that. I would probably say go ahead and rent the tool. Maybe easier to do. So here's the parts on the new inner tie rod. Here's that washer, and this is going to lock in place in there, and it's going to be right up against the tie rod here, and we're going to be tapping these down over the flat parts of it. So it locks in like right in here. So I can't sit there and hold it, so I'm going to go ahead and start it out here. And just screw it in until it gets to a point to where I can hold it with my other hand. All right. So we'll tighten it first, and then we'll push these flaps over, tap these flaps over. All right, so that's about like it was when I took it off. So it should be around the 60 foot-pounds. I can't. I can't find the exact foot-pounds in a book. So now we need to tap these down, these flaps over here, this washer. So I need to get some kind of little hammer or something to do that. Is it hitting it?
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to put the boot on. So we're going to take this jam nut all the way off for that. All right, now we're going to get the boot and we're going to put that on. We're going to use zip ties, one in the back and one in the front. I'll put some tape here on the threads of the new inner tie rod so that the boot will slip on without any kind of damage to it. I'm going to lube right up here with some grease. I'm going to go ahead and take this old clamp off and get a look at what it looked like and how we took it off. We just kind of pried it open like that. But yeah, I'm not going to reuse it. And I'm going to use this zip tie. I'm going to go ahead and get it started. Use some grease here. It's going to settle, the other end is going to settle right in here. Let's go ahead and grease that. Grease the end here. And I'm just going to slide it on. Make sure that I get it on really snug up here. All right, I think get the zip tie lined up so that I'll be able to pull it tighter from underneath. Okay. Then bring this down. It's going to settle right here. Right there. Boot is on nice. Taking this old tape off the threads. Putting the new jam nut back in place. Putting it way up there. Okay, now turn your outer tie rod into the inner. The number of turns that you took it off at. Try to be exact if you can. Okay, tighten the jam nut, hand tight. We just line up the outer tie rod now with the knuckle. Okay, that's in place. So we're going to take the old castle nut because I like that better. I was hoping to use the castle nut with the cotter pin, but there's no hole that goes through the new tie rod, so I'm going to have to use the nut provided here. Okay, so these knuckle nuts are supposed to be on here at I believe 36 foot-pounds. Is that right? I'm gonna go with that. Okay, last we've got the jam nut here. We just need to tighten. And that's it. So inner outer tie rod on a 2002 Toyota Camry. Not that difficult, it's just awkward to get to a lot of places, but not really that bad. So thanks for watching, hope it's been helpful. Until next time, have a great day and take care.